So to complete the table, this is pretty simple. To complete the table, we're going to plug in -2 first. So we're going to find f of -2. Completing the table, find f of -2. So plug in -2, and I get f of -2 is 3 plus 2 times -2, 2 times -2 minus -2 squared. When we do this, what we're getting is that this is equal to 3 minus 4 minus, no, -2 square. -2 square is 4. Just checking that. -2 square is 4. And minus 4. Yep, so this is what we get. So 3 minus 4 minus 4, we work that out to be 3 minus 4 minus 4 is -5. So f of -2 is -5. This is -5. Now we need f of 2. F of 2, when we plug in f of 2, it's going to be equal to, plug in 2 to get 3 plus 2 times 2, 2 times 2, which is 4. 2 times 2 is 4, plus, well, minus 2 square, and that's minus 4. Three plus 4 minus 4, and this works out to be 3. So f of 2 equals 3, right? F of 2 works out to be equal to 3. Nice and easy, soft, all right? Works out to be 3. All right, now that we have that covered, it says complete the grid below to show all the points in the table on page 25 and hence draw the graph of f of x. So complete the grid. So you just want us to plot the points between -2 and 4 and then draw the graph. So first and foremost, we found that f of -2 is -5. So that's the first point we are going to plot on. So we're going to plot on -5. F of -2 is -5. Here it is. So put f of -2 is -5. And they plot f of -1 for us. They plot f of 0 for us. They plot f of 1 for us. The only thing left to plot is f of 2. What was f of 2? F of 2 is 3. So we're going to plot on 3. So f of 2 we found is 3. So plot on 3. And then it says to complete the graph. All right. Complete the grid below and draw the graph. So drawing the graph, it's a quadratic. It looks like this. Between 4, what's f of 4? All right, so f of 4 is going down as well. F of 4, as we can see, that is -5. All right, and then this going down, cut through here, cut through here. Gonna keep going down. That's the graph. So this represents the graph now of the function. All right, and these are the 2 points that were plotted in. All right, and that gives you 2 marks. Nice and easy, soft. Then they ask now, using the graph, determine the coordinates of the maximum point of f of x. Maximum point means the highest point on the graph. And it says using the graph. So the graph, this is the highest point on the graph. If you were to shade the graph, this is the region where the graph of the function is. So the highest point on the graph is right here. And this occurs at 1, 4. All right. So the coordinates of the maximum point is 1, 4. Nice. Now it says, find the range of values of x for when f of x is greater than 0. Using the graph, f of x is greater than 0. I'm going to shade it in blue. F of x is greater than 0. This is the line y equals 0. And so f of x being greater than 0 is in here. F of x being greater than 0 is in here. So f of x greater than 0 is in here. So it is greater than 0 when x is between 1 and 3. All right, so f of x is greater than 0 when x is between 1 and 3. When x is between 1 and 3. That's that solution. Again, why is that so? It's asking us for when the function is greater than 0, meaning which part of the function is above the x-axis. The function is above the x-axis when x is between 1 and 3. And then it asks us to find the gradient of f of x when x equal 1. The gradient. It says using the graph, you know. Now the gradient when x is equal to 1 is 0. Because if you draw a line like this, at the point when x is 1, the gradient is 0, you're going to get a horizontal line. And so when x equal 1, the gradient is 0. All right? So you can just tell him that the gradient, I like to call gradient m, is equal to 0. All right? So just tell him that you're calling the gradient m. The gradient is 0 at x equal 1. Because if you were to draw a tangent at the point when x equal 1 and find the gradient of the tangent is 0. And so the gradient at x equal 1, which is equal to the gradient of the tangent, is 0. Nice and easy. Soft. Now let's look at part B. Part B says Mr. Thomas makes X bottles of juice and Y cakes each day to supply to his customers. He makes at least 20 bottles of juice and no more than 15 cakes each day. Write two inequalities to represent this information. So they tell us that Mr. Thomas makes X bottles of juice and Y cakes each day. So he makes X bottles of juice and Y cakes each day. All right, so we can say X plus Y is, he's never going to make more than that. He only makes a maximum. He makes a maximum of X bottles of juice and Y cakes each day. So X plus Y must be less than or equal to, let's see how much now. To supply his customers, he makes at least 20 bottles of juice. He makes at least. All right, so this part is, this is what he makes in total. X plus Y is equal to the total that he make every day. That's equal to the total. All right. So this is just from the first statement. All right. Nothing here yet. No inequalities yet. Now let's look at the second statement. The second statement says he makes at least 20 bottles of juice. He makes at least 20 bottles of juice. So it is telling us that he makes at least, so X is greater than or equal to 20. That's the first thing. He make at least 20 bottles of juice. And then, and no more than 15 cakes each day. So him can't bother bake so much, so Y is less than or equal to 15. All right. So X is greater than or equal to 20, and Y is less than or equal to 15. All right. So the maximum number of cake he make a 15 and the minimum number of juice he make a 20. Right? He has to hustle. He's hustling Mr. Thomas. Now it says each day Mr. Thomas uses $163 to make the bottles of juice and cakes. All right, each day he uses $163 to make juice and cakes. It says the cost to make a bottle of juice is $3.5, while the cost to make a cake is $5.25. Write an inequality to represent this information. All right, so just to write down clearly what they said that the cost of $3.5 that will equal to 1x. This will equal to 1x. This is the cost of one bottle of juice. All right, and then while the cost to make, it says now while the cost to make one cake is $5.25, so it's a lot more expensive to make a cake. All right, $5.25. If this is USD, this is a lot of money to make one cake. $5.25 to make one Y. Now let's go back to the top now. At the top it says each day he spends $163 to make bottles of juice and cakes. So when you add up the total amount of money that he spent on, so the total amount of money that he spends on cake and the total amount of money that he spends on juices, it's going to be equal to 163. All right. No matter what, I'm not going over $163. All right. So let's see how we can phrase this inequality now. All right. So the total, which is x plus y, why would it say inequality? All right. Because the statement that I'm getting right here is when I add up my total amount of cakes plus my total amount of, when I add up my total amount of, oh yes, let me put on the monetary values beside them. All right, so this is for money now, money representation. So writing the money representation, $3.5. So my 3.5 times x, my 3.5 times x plus my 5.25y, that is never going to be bigger than 163. It's always going to work out to be $163, which makes sense. Why did they say inequality? This sounds more like an equation. All right, unless you'd want to say less than or equal to in this case. But it says that he uses exactly. It didn't say at least. It didn't say any of that sort of stuff. It just says he uses 163. So that means that the total amount of money that he spent on bottle of juice and cake are 163. Now it says, show on any given day, it is not possible for Mr. Thomas to make 50 bottles of juice and 12 cakes. Now to show that that is not possible, we just need to show that I'm going to spend more than 163. So look at it now, 50 times, how much for a bottle of juice? 3.25. 3.25 plus, how much for cake? Oh, bottle of juice was 3.5, not 3.25. Bottle of juice was 3.50. And if you bake 12 cake at 5.25, let's see how much money he's going to spend. All right, 5.25, that's equal to 50 times 3.5 plus 12 times 5.25. Now that's $238. That's crazy, $238. So it is not possible. So here's your concluding statement. So you can just tell them that this is way over Mr. Thomas' budget. He would never spend that much money, so hence he never makes 50 juices and 15 cakes. He's never going to do that because Mr. Thomas is not going to spend so much money. So that's the reason. This is way over Mr. Thomas' budget. His budget is $163. All right, and I totally agree with Mr. Thomas.